first like to say that I'm just blessed to be at Strand. It's 87 years of this grand institution, consecrated by so many people to come through, trying to keep alive some kind of book culture, an intellectual life, and a money civilization. And second, just to sit with my dear brother. He's a distinguished man of letters, just exemplary essayist in so many ways, New York Review of Books and other journals, High Cotton, that marvelous novel, 1992 I think it is, and plays and so forth. And I just want to take this time to say that publicly to you, Brother Darryl Pinckney.
Oh, well, you're very kind.
Read you religiously.
Very grateful.
Read you regularly.
So Dr. West has just been in Ferguson, Missouri, and I wanted to dive right in and just ask him, what's it like, what's it's happening, and what does it describe or mean?
Of course, you're dealing with what black folk have been up against for 400 years, which is being terrorized, traumatized, and stigmatized. Arbitrary policing. And it was just, for me, it's sublime to see people stand up in the face of power. And it sends ripples so people can maybe shatter their sleepwalking, even if only for a moment, and become awakened, willing to organize and mobilize. Because I think as an old school brother, it's very important that we first let young people know that we love them and we're concerned about them and we attend to them. The important thing is to remain engaged. They're still at it now for 70-some days. This is unprecedented in the last 20 years. The young folk organizing for over 70-some days every day. They are on fire. But secondly, that they come from a great tradition. That sense of subversive memory. It's a structural, institutional, and cultural question, or at least culture within those structures and institutions, that present a real problem. There has to be some accountability. You got to start sending to jail police who kill innocent citizens. Yeah. There's just no way around it. It's like Wall Street. You got to send Wall Street criminals to jail when they commit crimes, market manipulation, insider trading, fraudulent activity, and so forth. If they torture, you got to send the torturers to jail. The president said they're real patriots. They're not real patriots. Torturers are thugs. I don't care who they are. You see, they're gangsters. Torture is a crime against humanity. So you don't just let them free. But then when Letitia and Jamal get caught with a crack bag, you send them straight to the new Jim Crow. You see, at that point, the criminal justice system itself is criminal. And it loses its legitimacy, and understandably so, because it's so tilted against poor people and tilted against disproportionately chocolate poor people, black, brown, red, and so on. The reason why you send the policeman to jail is not out of vengeance. It's because the lives of poor black girls and boys has exactly the same status as the lives of white boys and girls at Exeter and Andover. It's just a basic moral, and I would say as a Christian, a spiritual statement. And it needs to be said over and over again, and our policy needs to reflect that.
I mean, there's always been a kind of fear of the masses in our American political institutions.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's why we have the Electoral College. But do you think that in the digital age, some of the devices coming along could one day play a part in something that's more like direct democracy?
Arguing against voting, but recognizing that voting has its limits, especially when it comes to arbitrary police power or massive unemployment or decrepit school systems and so forth. That it can make a difference, but it won't make the difference. And I think that is mature, because you don't want to lie to people and tell them that just voting somehow is going to generate the kind of fundamental change that's required. So it's a market-driven society. There's weapons of mass distraction. Make money, reduce citizens to consumers. They conceive of life as just being stimulated and titillated rather than unsettled and challenged. So that critical reflection is pushed to the margin. And this is especially for our precious young people of all colors. Of all colors. And that market culture severs the three dimensions of time, of past, present, and future. So you just get a present that's ever repeating. The past fades away. The future is always an extension of the present rather than different. You see, this is corporate media. This is a market model of education. You know, Diane Ravitch reminds us of what? Rich kids get taught, poor kids get tested. So that in what used to be public education is now a market, commodified experience and highly militarized in poor communities. That's tied with three tendencies: financialized, privatized, militarized. And it disproportionately affects the weak and vulnerable. Financialized, 1% of the population own 42% of the wealth. Big banks dominate. They don't produce products, they produce deals. Very different than the earlier versions of capitalism. American Motors at least produce products with workers. Hedge fund and others, they don't produce any.
It's going to be like the German Democratic Republic, where overemployment was in the secret security watching everybody else. They collect all this data and we don't care now because they can't process it. But if they start sort of hiring people to sit there and go through it, it's a different world. But all these things, it's almost by inertia. You know, it's like prisons are such big business, or the war on drugs is such big business.
Absolutely.
That you can't sort of grab it by the tail like a buffalo and turn it around. You know, it really is a commitment to, dismantling a whole sort of system that's grown up to absorb this federal money.
But how many went to jail under the Wall Street catastrophe of 2008? Zilch. But that's a decline in morality. That's a sign that you can get away with metaphoric and literal financial murder with no accountability whatsoever. In fact, one of the major ones, Brother Jamie, head of J.P. Morgan Chase, he's sipping tea with the president. And when they get caught, what do? They get charged money.
Negotiated settlement. Tax
write-off, negotiated settlement. You see, that's no accountability at all. You never say you did it. You see, no responsibility. Write a check. Can you imagine engaging in a crime? You and I, well, I wouldn't want to get you in trouble, bro.
No, I know.
But you and I commit a crime, and we call the folk up and say, well, we got some big money. Oprah's a friend. She got some money. She's going to help me out. I don't have to go to jail. No, the legal system doesn't operate like that. That's big money dictating. That's Wu-Tang Clan cream. You got cash root and everything around me, right? That's a decline of morality, you see. And the major dominant tendency right now is very much toward a police state, a crypto-fascist regime, where big money gets away with murder, regulates those very tightly who would constitute forms of resistance with an emaciated public fear. There's no public conversation with no serious public education, so you're not going to get any Socratic energies, no critical engagement at all. You're generating sleepwalkers and consumers. What is that? Well, that is what you call soft fascism, you see. And when you do try to engage in serious critique and resistance, as the Occupy movement did here in New York City, it was a marvelous thing, I thought, right? You get brutalized.
I think when, under the deregulation of capital, something happened, and people started to see that if they can get away from it, get away with it,
That's right.
Then I should get away with it too. And it kept going till the whole thing sort of unraveled. That, no one was willing to be the fool. That everyone wanted to get his. And I don't think that's changed. What's added is this sense now that something is very finite about our world, and there's not enough to go around. And that people are, in some ways, very distrustful.
Because we live in the age of the sellout. You see, the cupidity is tied to venality. Sell your soul for a mess of pottage. Access to power is a new crack. I want to get to the White House. I want to get to City Hall. I want access to some visibility at any cost. Right, so it's just a matter of being successful rather than also what you're faithful to. Nothing wrong with success, but the question is what do you use it for? Martin, Malcolm, Frederick Douglass, Ida B. Wells, Barnett, Ella Baker, they would never, ever sell out. Ever. That's integrity. That's what's needed, especially for our young folk. That's decency. That's honesty. Okay? I get calls all the time. You got over 1,000 white supremacist militia groups. And they say, Brother West, you on the list of all of them. People ask me why I'm a Christian. I need some spiritual strength, God dang it. No, I'm being facetious.